welcome to the deep dive. We've got a really interesting mission today, actually. We're looking at a listener's goal, finding a new place to live.
Right, and we have this collection of notes. It's quite a mix. Local geography, some international travel observations, even global demographics.
Exactly. So our job is to sort of pull out the main criteria people use, maybe you use, for choosing where to live, and uncover some surprising facts along the way.
It's a great set of notes because the personal reasons for moving within the U.S., things like cost, politics, environment, you see echoes of those on a global scale when you look at economies and populations.
Okay, let's start with the state elimination game, as the notes called it. Some states got cut really fast. New York and California, for instance.
Yeah, straight out. The notes cited high costs, definitely certain laws, and for California, specifically earthquake worries, big hurdles.
It wasn't just the huge, expensive places. Alaska.
Too cold. Described as, I think, Cleveland winter 364 days a year. So yeah, climate was a big factor there.
Hawaii, too, right? Similar reasons.
Kind of, but more about being too remote, plus the expense. Just too far off the mainland grid, according to the source.
I found the Pennsylvania example interesting. It wasn't like overall cost, but a specific thing about, was it liquor laws?
Exactly. Not that the listener was planning a bar crawl, but it was seen as a sign, a signal of maybe overly restrictive state regulations impacting daily life.
So those are the deal breakers. But then the places that did make the shortlist were Nashville, Austin, New Orleans.
Which is interesting, right? Because if pure cost was the only driver, you'd think some cheaper, maybe less known inland states would win out.
Yeah, it suggests that culture, or maybe a certain vibe, became important too. These are all cities known for having a distinct atmosphere.
Which perfectly leads us to the global stuff. If high costs push people away from U.S. coasts now, what about bigger market instability? Let's look at Japan.
Yeah, Japan's situation is fascinating. The notes point to this paradox. An aging population and an economy that's been, well, basically stagnant for 30 years.
It's like the endpoint of an overheated market. Remember that famous point about the real estate bubble?
Oh, you mean the Imperial Palace land value?
Yes. At one point, the value of the palace grounds in Tokyo was supposedly equal to the entire state of California. Just imagine.
Puts today's coastal U.S. prices in a different light, doesn't it? Thinking long-term risk.
Definitely. And then the notes flip completely, contrasting that with Southeast Asia, Vietnam specifically.
Right, the exchange rate, something like 22,000 dong to $1. Insane affordability.
Totally. Although you had to watch out for tourist pricing, apparently. But still, incredibly cheap living possible.
And linking back to culture, what about that Japanese work culture mentioned? Drinking with the boss, staying in capsule hotels.
Yeah, the sleep tubes. It sounds like a different kind of, not money, but maybe personal comfort or boundaries. That could be an elimination criterion for some people,
So whether it's San Francisco rent or a Hanoi hostel, it boils down to what you can tolerate economically and culturally.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the hard data, the demographics. There's a big shift mentioned.
The most populated country. It's not China anymore.
Nope. India has officially taken the top spot. That's confirmed in the source material.
Wow. Okay. But the other big surprise, at least for me reading these notes, was the U.S. ranking.
Still number 3. It's easy to forget just how large the U.S. population is. We're at, 340 million now?
Which is a huge jump from 1950. It was about 148 million then.
Exactly. And it means the U.S. ranks higher than countries you might intuitively think are bigger, like Indonesia, Pakistan, Brazil. They're all below the U.S.
That context is important, right? It changes how you might view the U.S. as long-term stability or influence, regardless of where you choose to live within it.
Absolutely. It's a key piece of the global picture.
So wrapping this up for our listener, and maybe for you listening too, what's the main takeaway?
I think the core lesson is that finding the right place is often less about chasing some perfect ideal.
And more about subtraction, like figuring out what you absolutely cannot deal with.
Precisely. High costs, certain laws, a climate you hate, maybe even a work culture like Japan's. You eliminate the negatives first.
Okay, so here's a final thought to leave you with, building on that. The notes mentioned most of the U.S. population lives near the coasts.
Right, the most populated areas.
But those are also generally the most expensive areas and, as we discussed, often have higher environmental risks, hurricanes, earthquakes, sea level rise.
So the question is, how long can that pattern hold? If costs keep rising and risks become more apparent, could we see a major shift?
Could those flyover states, the ones maybe eliminated early in this process for being less glamorous, actually become the next boom towns as people move inland? Something to think about.